Hello and welcome to part 5b, or you could call it the sequel to this video tutorial. We're now going to concentrate on the clickable table of contents. Now in the previous video we were dealing with the copyright notice, so if we click on the preview of the HTML Composer editor, there is where our copyright notice is. And remember, it is separated by a page break here. You can't see it, but it is there. So this is the way the copyright notice will look in a browser. Okay, let's get started. Click on the source button, and as you'll expect, the code is slightly ugly at the moment. So I will just clean this up for you so we can see where we are. Okay, now it's cleaned up, you can see it. As a quick recap, we have the copyright ID tag, the copyright notice centered, and then the rest of it, which is all my information, you will need to change. Okay, and remember, change this so it will go to your website and your email address. Let's get started with the clickable table of contents. Clickable table of contents code is probably going to be the shortest and easiest of everything we've managed to do, because you've been doing the hardest part as you've been going through all the tutorials by adding your chapters. Because we've been adding the div ID tag, this has a direct link to the table of content. So because you've been adding this, you've been doing the hard work as you've been going along. The ID chapter 2, the ID chapter 3, and all these have direct links with the code that we'll add in a moment, ID chapter 4. So let's add the code. Imagine again that we've finished the book, that the chapter 5 on this tutorial is the last chapter. We've added the copyright notice, now we need to add the clickable table of contents code. There we go. Very, very small, very, very simple, very, very easy. Nothing to be worried about, nothing to be scared. Let's just break this up so we can see what we're dealing with. Okay. Right, we see quite a few familiar things here. We see the comments, start table of contents, so we know that this is the table of contents section. And we have a P-class table of contents, so this will be centered because we know we've been using the heading class, and within the heading class the size is 1.5 and it is centered. Then we go down a line, we are using hyperlinks. Remember, in the copyright notice we have a hyperlink here using this code a space href. Well, we're going to be using the same code to create hyperlinks. The only difference here is that we have something extra with the code. We have this symbol. Now this symbol is called an octathorpe, believe it or not. Yes, we actually know it as a hash, but it does come under quite a few different names, such as pound, not to be confused with pound sterling. It's also known as number, but the official name is octathorpe, but the universal name is hash. So we add a hash before anything else. Now what we do, we open up first with a p tag, then we add our hyperlink code, followed with the equal sign, speech marks, then the hash sign. Why do we add the hash sign? Because this then connects to the chapter with this ID tag. Let's just go up. Now we're having a look at the author section, and at the very beginning we added an ID tag of title page. So if we scroll down, remember, ID title page, when we scroll down we see hash ID page. That hash is the direct connection or direct link to the ID title page. So when we are on the table of contents and we see the Fairies of Birchover Wood, or we see the title page of your book and we click it, what we are doing is we are clicking a link which joins this hash title page to the author section of your ebook. I'll go through that one more time. Let's look at chapter 1. We have the div ID tag and we've called it chapter 01. This is like an identifier. okay, the link which has a connection to the table of contents. So if we go down and we look at chapter 1, we have the octothorpe or hash, we have chapter 01. This is exactly the same as the one in section chapter 1, and because they are the same, we know they are connected. So in your table of contents on your ebook, you will see chapter 1, Hungary, and if I use the cursor and I click that, that will know that that has a direct link to chapter 1 of my book, and by clicking that you will then go to chapter 1 of my book. Let's look at chapter 4. We have the div ID tag, chapter 404. The name of the chapter is the battle. So we go down and we look at chapter 4 and it's exactly the same. We have the hash, we have chapter 04. So that has a direct link to chapter 4 of the book. On the table of contents we click the battle, the name of the chapter. It then looks at that. It knows it's linked to chapter 4 of the story, and it takes us to chapter 4 of the story. And that's how the table of contents is structured. Okay, so let's add another one in, because we haven't added the copyright notice, and the copyright ID tag is copyright. So what we need to do is add that in. Open with the P tag, href. Don't forget the hash sign, and then just to make sure it's copyright, the div ID is copyright. So we type in copyright. Has to be exactly the same. If it isn't, it won't work. So always make sure, triple check everything when you've finished. Close it, and then we can call it anything we want. In this section we can call it anything. It doesn't matter. We could call it John, Fred, car, planet, universe. We could call it anything we like as long as we know what they are. It's these names that have to be the same as those names up there. Okay, but these can be anything you want. So I'm going to call this copyright notice, and then we close the tag, and then we close the tag, and that's it. There's nothing else. There's no page break here, there's no ending, there's no other closing tag. That's it. All I've done is I've added this end of table of contents section, because I know then that's it, it's finished. That is your clickable table of contents. That is the structure. Because you've been adding these into the beginning of the chapters, they are now all linked, and it's just these that can change. It doesn't matter. So shall we have a look? Well, let's go to preview. There's chapter 5 that we started off with. There's the copyright notice, and then at the bottom we have the clickable table of contents, and we have the copyright notice already there. Okay, now all I need to do is just save this, and I've saved it as example code version 5, and we need to open this within a browser to see what it looks like. Okay, I have Google Chrome open, and it's a little bit different from other browsers, because normally you would see file, edit, and you would just click file and then open. But on Google Chrome we have to use certain shortcuts. So this shortcut to open a file will be Control key and O, and that should call up a box. There we go, and we have to search for that file, and because I know what it's called, example-code-version5.html, I click it, I open it. There is the name of the book, the tree image, chapter 1 image, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, copyright notice, and your clickable table of contents. And if I click that, it takes me to chapter 1. If I click poem, it takes me to chapter 1. If you notice, the poem, the title is different. Here it's The Magic Never Ends, and on the table of contents it's just classed as poem. I did that just to show you that it doesn't have to be the same. The actual code itself, the hash section, the div ID has to be the same, but this title, the naming of it here, doesn't have to be the same. but I've kept the rest the same just to show you. Chapter 1, Hungary. Chapter 2, sightings. Chapter 3, the meeting. Chapter 4, the battle. Chapter 5, myths, legends and folklore. And even though we can see it, it probably won't move because it's already on the screen, but we click it and there it is. If I click this link, it should go to my website, and it is, because we can see the domain name there, and there we go, there's my website. So the link within the table of contents linking to my website works. So what I do recommend you do is change that, or people will be clicking to my website. That's the table of contents. It works. That's what you need to add to the end of your ebook, and that's it. No fireworks, no huge street party. It's a very small section of code that does a very important job. It gives navigation within your ebook, and it drives me crazy when I've purchased ebooks and they don't have a clickable table of contents. Some of them don't even have a table of contents, and for me that is a cardinal sin. Every ebook should have some form of navigation, or at least a list of chapters in the table of contents. So there you go. I hope you found this informative, educational, and I hope it's helped you create what you are after in your ebook: the look, the format, the style, and of course most importantly that clickable table of contents. This is Ian for How to Make an Ebook. Please visit my blog, iansrutter.co.uk/blog. There's a number of articles. Please put your comments, or if you have any ideas or thoughts or any other tutorials you would like me to go through, then please put them down. Tell the world, tell the President, tell the Prime Minister, tell everybody about the blog and these tutorials. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much for spending some time watching these videos and reading the articles. I really do appreciate it. The next set of tutorials will be on Calibra. And what is that? Well, it's an ebook management software. How do we get all this code onto the Kindle, the Nook, or the Sony e-reader? How do we make it into the ebook? We've started creating the ebook by using code, but it's the final process, turning it into an EPUB or a MOBI file. That's where Calibra comes in, and I'll be getting that out shortly. So once again, thank you very much for your time. I hope you've enjoyed it. Bye bye.